I didn't drive straight home. I drove to Willow Ridge. The road there was narrow and familiar, winding through trees my grandfather had planted himself decades ago. Every mile felt like a memory resurfacing, him teaching me how to drive, his hand steady over mine, telling me that land remembered the people who respected it. As I pulled through the iron gate, the weight of what had left me finally settled in. This wasn't just property. This was his last line of defense. The house stood exactly as I remembered it. White siding, wraparound porch, windows dark but watchful. I half expected him to step out and scold me for being late. Instead, the silence greeted me like a held breath. Inside, everything was untouched. Furniture covered in linen, the faint scent of cedar and old books. I walked room to room slowly, as if the walls might whisper instructions. That's when I noticed the desk in his study. The bottom drawer was slightly open. Inside was another envelope. This one wasn't sealed. It held a leather-bound journal, my grandfather's. I sank into his chair and opened it, my fingers tracing the familiar indentation of his handwriting. The last entries were dated only weeks before his death. Margaret has been asking questions, one line read. She thinks him confused. She thinks wrong. I flipped the page. I've seen how they circle, how they count what isn't theirs yet. Claire is the only one who visits without wanting something. Tears blurred my vision, but I kept reading. Then my phone buzzed. A voicemail from an unknown number. I played it. Ms. Whitmore, a man's voice said, calm and professional. This is Daniel Price, attorney representing Margaret Whitmore. We have reason to believe you are in possession of assets unlawfully obtained prior to Mr. Henry Whitmore's passing. I strongly advise you to contact me before further action is taken. Unlawfully obtained. My grandfather's words echoed in my mind. They will try to make you doubt yourself. I shut the journal and stood, my resolve hardening. They weren't just coming for the house. They were rewriting the story, turning me from heir into thief. That's when headlights washed over the front windows. I froze. The same black sedan from earlier rolled up the driveway and stopped. A knock echoed through the house. Not polite. Not hesitant. Demanding. I stepped toward the door, heart racing, knowing that whatever waited on the other side would set the course for everything that followed. And as I reached for the handle, I realized something chilling. They hadn't waited for lawyers. They had come in person. And once I opened that door, there would be no turning back, because what they were about to say would force me to make a choice that could tear this family apart forever. That I didn't open the door right away. The knocking came again, louder this time, sharp enough to rattle the glass. I stood still, listening to my own breathing, reminding myself that this house, this land, was legally mine. Fear had no claim here. Control did. I know you're inside, Claire, my Aunt Margaret's voice called out, tight with irritation rather than concern. We just want to talk. Just want to talk. The same words she used when she'd taken my mother's jewelry after the funeral and called it safekeeping. I opened the door but didn't step aside. Margaret stood there in a tailored coat, flanked by my Uncle Robert and a man I didn't recognize, mid-40s, sharp eyes, the kind that catalogued weaknesses instead of faces. The black sedan idled behind them, engine humming like a threat. You shouldn't be here, Margaret said, scanning the porch as if inventorying what she believed already belonged to her. I live here, I replied calmly. According to documents filed 6 months ago. The stranger's eyebrow lifted. I'm Daniel Price, he said. Your aunt's attorney. I know who you are, I said. You left me a voicemail. Then you understand why we're concerned, he continued smoothly. Henry Whitmore was elderly. Vulnerable. Certain transfers made during that period may be subject to review. Margaret's lips pressed together, but her eyes glittered with satisfaction. This was the story they'd chosen. Frailty. Manipulation. Theft. You mean the transfers he made while fully competent, witnessed, and notarized? I asked. Those transfers? Robert shifted uncomfortably. Margaret shot him a look. We can do this the easy way, Margaret said. You walk away from Willow Ridge, we avoid a very ugly legal process. I laughed then. I couldn't help it. You disinherited me without blinking, I said. And now you want mercy? Her face hardened. Don't be dramatic. You were never meant to have any of this. That was the moment the truth finally surfaced, raw and unfiltered. The lawyer cleared his throat. If this goes to court, your reputation will suffer. Allegations have a way of sticking. Allegations, I repeated. Or lies. I stepped back inside and picked up the journal from the desk, holding it up so they could see it clearly. He wrote everything down, I said. Dates. Conversations. Intent. Including the pressure you put on him to change the will. Margaret's composure cracked for half a second. You have no idea what you're playing with, she snapped. I do, I said softly. And am done being quiet. I closed the door in their faces and locked it. My phone buzzed almost instantly. A message from Emily. They are furious. Mom says if you don't hand over the house, she'll release medical records proving Grandpa wasn't sound. My stomach dropped. Medical records. I knew enough to understand what that meant: selective documents, twisted timelines, experts willing to testify for the right price. I walked back to the desk and opened the journal again, flipping faster this time, searching for anything that could protect his legacy and my future. That's when a folded page slipped free and landed at my feet. It wasn't a diary entry. It was a copy of a letter addressed to the county probate judge. And the date on it was 2 weeks before my grandfather died. As I read the first line, my blood ran cold. Because if this letter was real, and I knew it was, then my grandfather hadn't just planned for their greed. He had anticipated their lies. And in the next moment, I realized that the judge already knew something my family was desperately trying to hide, something that would turn their entire case upside down, if I dared to use it.